Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Britt Woodall, and I'm with Vobile, and really excited to share a little bit about our business and how it relates to artificial intelligence and a lot of things that y'all are focused on. And I want to say a thank you to David Reed and including us this year with the AI Days and what they're doing. And it's been really, I would consider an important part of our coming to Gainesville just over almost 2 years ago now, and really appreciate all the work David and his team are doing. So what I want to do is just really kind of lay a little bit of groundwork. Just a quick show of hands, how many people have even heard of my company, Vobile? All right, well, let me just back up a little bit, and I'm going to kind of ease into this, and we'll leave plenty of time for questions for things that you may have interest in, if I can peek anything today for you. So Vobile is the world leader it's a technology company that focuses on intellectual property related to video and audio. And to be even more specific, we specialize in technologies around protecting intellectual property for most of the major video content creators in the world, and to include all the motion picture studios. Many are probably familiar, even Amazon and Netflix make their own original content. We do Disney Plus, all the sports leagues, NFL, NBA. We do Premier League now in the UK, and we're really a global company that is focusing on a lot of the established issues around intellectual property, protection and monetization. And what we want to get in today a little bit is not what we necessarily all that we have do currently, but it's about the future of entertainment and in many ways its nexus with artificial intelligence and a lot of our purpose of being here in Gainesville. First slide, and I just kind of talk over these and not try to, you don't have to take notes or pay too much attention. There's no test today. But it's a little bit on the evolution of video content. This slide kind of gives you a little bit of a progression and some type of chart. But you know, most realize a lot of my technology career, I started out in digital rights management of audio. Spent a good bit of time there, and a lot of that activity, many people, it's hard to even think of. Before 2005, no one had an iPhone. You know, it's incredible. And one of the companies I was with, we worked relating to audio right after the fall of Napster. We were right along the guys from Apple doing licensing deals with all the labels, and they never intended to sell any music. It was all a marketing expense for their, at that time, iPods. And look what's become. And now with the progression of that, now no one downloads files. It's all streaming, and you can see there's just a progression of what's continued to happen. And a lot of the turf wars and battles and legal things that have happened over the years have all been a kind of business evolution around intellectual property and who has the rights to it, to distribute, to license, and all these things. And that's really a lot of what the focus of Vobile is. But in the current climate, what we want to kind of touch on today is some of the challenges and some of the solutions. Everybody is familiar with the term AI, and so we're going to talk about adding a couple of letters to that in the acronym AIGC, or generated content, is something from our world. And with this, a lot of what we have dealt with in the past is content created by institutions we all recognize, movie studios, artists, record labels, very well-worn paths for publishing and how to license that content, not only across broadcasting, but also out to gaming, down the road even into Mattel toys. You can all can imagine the applications for licensing in these areas. Well, one of the things we end up facing now is, and I'm going to invite you to kind of imagine with me, if you begin to have artificial intelligence that's generating content, it begins to create scenarios that are just really interesting. Everyone here is probably participated in creating written content using ChatGPT. And that's just a kind of an entry level. They do a great job marketing just some of the potential applications. Because many are familiar with maybe DALL-E or other, I put up on the slide, Midjourney. A lot of these ways where just with a few descriptors, you can really have generated content just for your own personal enjoyment that's just kind of an interesting, entertaining application. This movie, Frost, is really an interesting foray. It's one of the first, real independent films to be created totally with AI-generated content. And for those who haven't seen it, I'm not saying it's the greatest film ever, but it's worth going to look at. And it's not there yet, but it gives you a sense of where things are going. And for my industry, there's a lot of questions around this type of ownership and rights and the intellectual property associated with that. Many are familiar with the recent Hollywood strike of writers, all again around this subject of, what's going to happen when I'm being pushed out because content or tools or things happen where the value of the service I make is now no longer what it was. And so you're seeing right now, and there are some, they've come to some agreements, but it's just beginning. And it's just going to be a continual, as these tools get better, there's going to be, we're just beginning to get into this kind of no man's land or crossing the Rubicon into a place where what we want to talk about a little bit is there's not a lot of precedent. A lot of our business model is based on a precedent, both legal and regulatory, where our clients, even without us, they have the ability to go, let's take YouTube, for instance, to go to YouTube and make a claim that, hey, this content belongs to us. And somebody's using this without our permission. And we've even helped innovate ways with those platforms like TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, where we'll not only can help them administer that process better to make a claim, but we've come up with alternatives with YouTube to share the monetization, where we don't necessarily have to do the traditional takedown. They can keep it up if they'll pay part of that monetization they're paying the YouTuber to our client. Well, those are all based on well-worn precedents that have been battled out over years within courtrooms and in legislatures. Well, we're entering a period now where we're woefully behind as a business community with the precedent to address what's going on now. And that presents tremendous opportunity for us, but it's opportunity that it requires a lot of innovation and a lot of reasons why we as a company are here in Gainesville is we're looking to do partnerships with UF, and we have a very talented staff, but we're also looking to recruit talented people to tackle these problems that really aren't just the future anymore. One example I thought I'd keep a slide in for today is UF's no stranger to a lot of the challenges around the NIL. The whole image and likeness, is probably water cooler talk for everyone in Gainesville, in the state of Florida, and anybody who has any interest in any kind of sports. It's affected them, and this area rolls over into entertainment because you're getting into what once was these people had future prospects of being able to monetize their brand. Now it's been accelerated, and now it is big money is at stake for them to have ownership and be able to manage the use of their image and likeness. And one example one of our staff gave me was this Aline Gu endorsement for skiing is over $30 million. We can probably see many situations just within the NCAA college football. We probably will begin to see that with exceptional examples. And it's going to continue to grow, but that is, again, these are the same of, 6 degrees of separation from the space we're in terms of entertainment and the value of theatrical artists that have gained, renown. I mentioned a little bit early about the regulatory policy, some of the things that are coming out. I'll just mention this. For those that just in traditional AI and within academia, many are familiar with a lot of these treaties, and I think like with Rome and whatnot, where UF is one of many participants to come to an agreement before there's any lawsuits and legislation. They're coming into a place of agreeing on principles of ethics and other things around artificial intelligence. Well, that's begun to come in even more with AI, and you're starting to see within content creation there being a big move to begin to have voluntary participation in types of ethics that are ways of documenting intellectual property and fingerprinting and other areas that we're just at the foothills of this, but it applies to my space just as much as it applies to academia. This, again, I'm going to ask just to bear with me as you just try to imagine the scenario we're talking about. But so much of what we see around content and the different type of ways we've seen, maybe content on social media has been censored in the different ways that takes place, or within the news, or within other ways where you have people, or within advertising, where people are advertising things they don't have a right to, and there's regulatory oversight and so forth. Well, we're entering into a phase now where the oversight in checking is done of AI is done by AI. And when you get into businesses that aren't just on federal levels and are so global, that term, it kind of turns into an industry called compliance, where you're looking to have people comply with what they're supposed to do, or programs or processes or these things. And we're getting into a place now where the processes and the content or the widgets or whatnot are created by AI, and the ones providing compliance are also done by AI. And it creates a really unusual situation that as you get into it, these are things we're tackling with. Much of what we do at Vobile, just to bring it back to us, is we are the world leader in an industry that uses automated content recognition technologies. We do have a lot of situations we have people reviewing, but more and more they're reviewing the results of what they've trained bots and other things to be able to cull out through unbelievable amounts of data, the however many million of videos a day YouTube uploads, to be able to comb through all that and bring just a small percentage of the infractions forth for someone to observe. And more and more that's being all done. And as these tools mature, as we get generation later, more and more of that work is done in a manner that we have to understand what it is, what the processes are, and sometimes some of the problems we get out of that. Couple questions that I want you guys just to think about is, I think a lot of people, I do a lot of talking. I do a lot of talking with different colleges within UF. I'm so interested in UF's commitment to AI, how they've hired experts in those areas. And my part of the goal of what I do is to try to become really familiar with applications both within UF and across the world in AI. And then as a company, we try to glean and get areas that we can do better ourselves with just our own processes. But one of the things that we get into a lot is I have many people, I'm going to them to try to find out what's your team working on, or try to understand an application. And 9 times out of 10, they turn around and are asking me about AI. And they're asking me how I think the world's going to end, or how, they have all these ideas outside of their expertise. And I'm not saying I'm up here having the answer to it. But what I do think I have seen in all my going around and talking with experts is we're in a period now where we have really valid applications that we're seeing come that actually, beyond just marketing the benefits like a ChatGPT or a DALL-E or one of these, but we're beginning to see actual tools people are using to help them do what they were already doing easier. And I think we're going to see that for a while, where people will have more adoption of these things. Just like I mentioned earlier, in 2006, there are a lot of people who said, I'm never getting an iPhone. Well, how did that work out? Well, there's a lot of this is going to take, there's a lot of hype around it, though, any kind of new technology. And one of the things I'll just kind of wrap things up today is that my career as a journeyman in technology is there's always excitement about the next opportunity. We can go back to, selling products on the internet. We can look at different blockchain, VR, AR, MR. We can go down these things that we continue to see. And AI is not just a fad. It's for real and it's for here. But many times the hype precedes the real impact by 12 to 15 years. And that's to say a lot of what our current AI is just a hint of what's to come and the real impact. Much of it's anybody who truly comes from a technical background will appreciate a lot of what we call AI is just a rebranding of what was machine learning several years ago. And but that said, it is valid. It is here to stay. And I think there's a place of can be a pessimism, concerns, and a lot of them are probably justified. But I think a lot of the real influence is going to happen in a few years as they begin to address systems and not just low-hanging fruit. And I think we're in a season where people are really realizing how to use and make tools to handle the current process that they're already in, and the ones where we actually build new cow paths, new trails, new innovating new systems in kind of global ways of looking at things will be coming not far down the path, but those will be the ones to keep an eye out for that will really impact what we're doing. And for those that, I encourage you, Vobile is committed to Gainesville. We're really excited to be here. We're opening a new office in Alachua. We're continuing to just be really thrilled with the results we're getting in terms of new hires, hiring people from UF. We're also looking for people who have a desire to really go deep within AI and apply it in what we do as content, video content. And it's a little bit of a unique place, but we're looking for talented engineers. And for those that have any remote interest or want to keep tabs of us, just look us up. We're in the news. We'd love to hear from you. And, of course, any openings, we'd love to see you express interest. And with that, I'm going to just kind of pause and allow people, if anybody's got any questions. Yes, ma'am.
You said at the end about how the 12 to 15 years is where you see like the real impacts of things. I'm wondering with the speed at which technology is changing, do you feel like that timeline might change too, or
I,
that
yeah, and there's anything I say, I encourage everyone to not believe me. I think I'm speaking to maybe past things that there's been, but you're right, the cycle certainly shortened. We've already had a huge impact from AI, so I'm not saying that there's no influence or what that is, but sometimes the if we were to go back and with humility and accuracy look and audit what really happened to a lot of past technologies and what they thought would happen, there was a delta between the expectations. And I think what AI, because it's been around under different forms in terms of machine learning, we're further into that than people, but I think it's been popularized in people's consciousness, and I think you're having a lot of more in-consumer, non-technical people adapting applications is one of the big differences. It's powerful, and it's a good thing right now. Any other questions? David.
So you're a tech company, and you hire our engineers from the University of Florida. But of course, we're training people all across the University of Florida, whether it's in human resources or business management or communications or marketing. Do you see Vobile also expanding, hiring people with AI talent in those other areas coming down the pipe?
The answer is yes, and we already are. We have different business operations areas, and many of those do not actually require technical. We certainly are hiring technical, and we're known for hiring a lot of technical people. But in Gainesville, we have, I was just updated before I came, we have, since last year when we started, I came to Gainesville, we now have over 30 people that we've hired. Probably 28 of them are non-technical workers. We have probably 5 people from the College of Journalism that are certified in Hootsuite that help us manage whole social media channels for our clients like Universal, Warner Brothers, Music. We do things for a number of the major studios that we have people from UF that are on our teams now right here in Gainesville, doing it from sleepy old Gainesville. And so it's an exciting time, and we're also, a lot of times people from other backgrounds, though we are in the entertainment business, we do a lot of stuff with content, a lot of it is a business type operation where we have use for a lot of different majors. And we have even people who went to UF to become a school teacher, but end up being a great fit for one of our roles. And it's something to look at no matter what major you are, especially if you're passionate about content. And depending on the roles, we have some people that, and this sounds terrible, but they watch video 8 hours a day. For some people, that's the greatest thing they've ever heard of. And for me, I'm like, have to get the sharp objects out of the room. I couldn't do it, but for some people it's really entertaining. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. I'm going to be easy on you, let you all out early. Thank you for your time. And David, thank you. Appreciate it much.